two and then the three and then the four, then you gotta breathe. One and then the two and then the three and then the four, then you gotta breathe. Then you gotta. Yo, these niggas can't breathe when I come through. Hum to some shoes, gotta be 20, man. It's not even funny, they can't. The chokehold's too tight, the left looks too right. You know what? You right. These bitches can't. Look, they hearts racing, they start chasing, but I'm so fast when I blow past that they can't. In the presence of the man.
It's hard to fade on the phone. Can we talk about how I believe this is one of those songs that I believe was a banger back in the day, as we say. But at the re-listen, kind of low rent. Just saying. Hate to say that. Kind of is. Welcome to another dumb podcast. I am your host. I am Brad C. That is actually what you would put on Twitter. At I am Brad C. We've got an interesting one for you today. I don't know. Who wants to talk COVID? And no, I don't actually have a I thought I was going to try to get a doctor on or whatever. Tommy 2.0 is the best I could do at this moment. But we have an interesting conversation about, I wouldn't say it's like centered around COVID, but I think it's a little bit about the lockdown and kind of just a few issues. Maybe we should talk about something different next time. But he's got a really great Ebola story, which he actually did 3 parts on his other podcast. Tell Me Where to Turn. Love to know. It was fun to know the origin of that. But I had a really. Me and Tommy, I think, are on the same wavelength as far as this whole thing, and You'll hear actually a term used where we call it team hoax or team not that bad or whatever we had. But the reason behind that is actually because on his podcast he was at one point a sniffing the team of team hoax, and now he's kind of shifted a little bit, and now we're on a team not that bad. But there's just it was on his podcast. That's why we brought it up. So, but we talk about a numerous thing. You know, he works in a hospital. He's not a nurse or a doctor or anything like that. But he works in communications. So he's very knowledgeable in things going on with hospitals. You know, and again, you have to listen to the story about what happened with the Ebola crisis out here whenever that nurse got infected. But it was a real fun one because we kind of delve into things maybe you weren't listening to in other podcasts. But so I don't know. I thought it was pretty good indeed. But follow Tommy at Tommy2_0, I think. That's what it said. I'm going to link everything down, their podcast. Go get them I feel like I should start like a not like a union, but a fellowship of local podcasters, and I feel like I've made friends with the Tell Me Where to Turn guys, and I'm thankful for that. I think they do good stuff, and hopefully they might even listen to my podcast later on or something like that. But I feel like we got to kind of support each other. You know, we're having tens of 20s of people's listen to the podcast, so I think it's nice to have more ears out there and for people to listen to what we're talking about. We do this. I do this because it's fun, and he does it because he hangs out with his friends, and I do the same too. I like having a podcast with Jacob and Dustin because they're my friends, and hopefully Tommy we start a relationship there, man. We'll be friends too. I don't know, but here's our COVID party. Let's see who gets first. Here it is, Tommy 2.0. I mean, it's not me, it's you. I am now recording, so.
Okay, well then I'm not even going to talk anymore. I'm just going to be quiet.
No, well, that's not part of the podcast. I need you to talk. That's well. Welcome to. I don't. You know what? You're better at this on your podcast. I noticed you do a whole intro thing, and
Yeah,
but
for the tens of people listening, we want to make sure they
make sure they know what they're listening to. I don't know whether they would just stumble upon your podcast, but
haven't worked out all those logistics yet.
Well, on another dumb podcast, we have a weird special guest. It's Tommy from. I always get the name of the podcast wrong because I want to say it's something else, but it's Tell Me Where to Turn, right?
Tell me where to turn. You got it. Yes.
Where did that come from?
That actually came from, so the other two guys I do the podcast with, we're buddies, we hang out, and it came from a night of really bad decisions, but Glenn was driving and none of us were in any condition to drive, and he said, look, I can get us there, you're just going to have to tell me where to turn.
Okay, all right.
And he wasn't talking about like he didn't know the directions, like he couldn't depth percept when the next turn was coming up. It was that bad.
What street? It was like, tell me now where to turn.
Just give me like a countdown, 3, 2, 1 when it's time to turn. This was long ago when we made many more bad decisions.
I was about to say,
don't endorse that.
I was about to say, yeah, don't do that at all. Even though this is my podcast, and I'm not going to go on any of my stories where I had.
But I mean, sometimes you need somebody to tell you where to turn. I mean, that's what spawned the name.
That's an interesting title, Tommy. Well, this is Tommy from Tell Me Where to Turn. I brought Tommy on another dumb podcast. How's our name? That's pretty simple.
Yeah, I was going to say, what's the story there?
It's basically if someone wants to shit on it. Like, your podcast is dumb, and I go, I know, that's what it's called. Like, I'm not. If you lower the bar enough, then there's the expectations as much. Like, oh wow, they really blew you away on that podcast. Well, it's another dumb podcast. But if it's bad, it's this is just another dumb podcast. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, you can't fall out of the basement. You can only exceed people's expectations at this point.
That's exactly where we're going with that one. So, but I brought Tommy on because I had some Ebola questions, but I also had a lot of COVID questions.
I thought we might be headed down the COVID route, so I'm prepared to answer your COVID questions as well.
Okay, well, I will say, everyone, go listen to Tell Me Where to Turn. They do a lot of fun wrestling things, I guess. I don't know. I wouldn't say that it's a wrestling podcast, but
we're trying to distance from wrestling. Our very steady listenership just plummeted when we started talking about wrestling, so we're trying to get those numbers back up.
Isn't that funny when you start going, this podcast is gonna rule, and then you look at the numbers, you go, oh, no one listened. Everyone, and then some random podcast you talk about, and I'm like, why does so many people listening to this? I didn't mean for anybody to listen to that. So, so they have a many of topics that they talk about, movie reviews, some wrestling, and one of my favorite episodes. I know I'm not actual. I feel like I'm a fan talking to someone, but my favorite episodes were actually the Ebola diaries or whatever the hell you called it.
Yeah, the 3-parter Ebola.
Yeah, it was like a 3-part series on Ebola. We're definitely not going to do 3 parts, but I guess the dumbed down version is that you worked at the hospital that had the lady who had Ebola. She contracted the Ebola. Correct.
Yeah. So I was, by a series of bizarre coincidences, which we document in the podcast, I was actually in charge of communications at the hospital the day that the first guy that had Ebola came into the emergency room.
I'm about to say we should preface everything going, none of us are doctors.
No,
I didn't bring Tommy to be a doctor. We just wanted to chat about some Ebola and COVID things, but okay, I'm sorry. Continue with your Ebola diatribe.
No, I find that working on the communications and media side, you find yourself in a lot of interesting conversations with doctors where you learn lots of fascinating things about infectious disease. They're telling you, for the purposes of putting the public at ease, but it has been fascinating. And honestly, COVID, I know it's done a lot of bad things, but it's really ruined my Ebola story, because pre-COVID, people love to hear about it. And they said, man, this could have been this pandemic that took over the entire state. And now we're living it every day, and it's lost a lot of its power.
I don't think it has. I think that story can you just kind of latch it on. Wow, you can see what y'all went through with dealing with the Ebola crisis or whatever it was. I don't know if it was a crisis. It was just, I guess, an incident. But yeah, you can kind of that's where I listened to it right when COVID started. I listened to that podcast and I go, wow, there's a little correlation, especially with what's the Dallas judge guy, Clay.
Oh, Clay Jenkins.
Yeah, there's a Clay Jenkins fold in that, and that's like, whoa, okay, that's even funnier. But
yeah, and he's kind of cracking me up with his COVID response, because in 2014 during Ebola, he was the guy that walked into the apartment the Ebola patient was staying in with no mask, no gloves, shook everybody's hand, touched the doorknob. It was like playing off this Texas tough guy vibe. And now he's the complete opposite during COVID of just, man, shut everything down.
Don't even breathe on that.
Don't even look at anybody that might give him the disease. I'm like, this is the same guy, just 6 years later.
I will say, so again, Tommy was working or I guess, I don't know what your official title was, but you're working communications or marketing for the hospital. I'm sorry, what was the hospital again?
Texas Health. Presbyterian in Dallas, part of the Texas Health family.
Okay. And
where we treat you with healing hands and caring hearts.
There we go. And you're no longer there anymore, but you were there during the. Okay, I wanted to say one more thing about Clay Jenkins. The funnier part that you're saying is your observation on him is. So when do I get to be on TV? Like, was that the only thing you would say?
Oh yeah, no. It's funny because it's a lot of the same either people or entities that are in the news now, but watching the CDC operate and how completely out of touch they were with what was going on at the hospital.
Well, okay, that's another part where I was like,
and then Clay, who just wants to know where the cameras are and when they're going to be there. And then where the free food was. I mean, that was pretty much the extent of what he was doing. But it is funny, though. And again, and I won't single him out because this was all the public figures. But when they would show up, that they would completely disconnect from the situation. They would disappear in a corner, bury themselves in a phone. But boy, as soon as a camera was there, they were the spokesman for the entire facility, the entire city, whatever the case was.
Yeah, I mean, it's not so much where they're like, they get there and go, is there anything I could do? Is there anything, they just let me know when the TV, when the cameras get here, I'll do my thing.
Yeah. But the we're working hand in hand with line just cracks me up because I'm like, no, you weren't. You didn't even talk to anybody. Like, you got handed a sheet of paper with bullet points on it and you're now working hand in hand. Come on.
Yeah.
The same with the CDC, to be honest with you, but that's a whole other story.
No, yeah, we really could do 3 parts on this because I almost forgot the CDC fold in that story. Everyone, go listen to that podcast. It's a great podcast because I didn't. That guy was like, "Come here, bud. I'm gonna put you under my wing and I'm gonna show you how this is done."
Yeah, and that lasted all of about 2 hours.
Oh,
my mentorship with the CDC.
Is he still sitting in that office? Like,
I'm sure.
I heard y'all threw him in an office and just said, "Yeah, you just stay over here."
We figured out where he could do the least damage and said, "Hey, you're doing great, buddy. Just work away."
Yeah.
But I mean, that really is funny because the doctors that are treating the patients, I mean, they were living it in really trying to ascertain the best treatment plan. And the CDC, for all intents and purposes, was just an impediment to that. It was another meeting they had to have. It was another opinion that they weren't particularly interested in getting. Somebody that was way disconnected from the situation trying to tell them what to do. That whole interplay was just comical to me.
It's comical, and also, I don't know. I'm a libertarian, so that just really frustrates me. Go, we're paying for that? Are we?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, we're paying for the whole army of them.
Let me go look at the CDC budget real quick. But yeah, you work for the communication for that and that whole deal. I guess I don't really want to go into the Ebola thing, but I just find it fascinating. I think there are correlations between the two, probably tenfold. I mean, I guess you'll have a COVID story later. I don't know. You don't really have it. Maybe not.
No, the similarities are really between COVID and Ebola are really shocking, and not that in the diseases, but in the way that it's being played out in the media. So I mean, and it goes. I mean, it wasn't that long ago. I mean, it's 2014 in Dallas, and the media is sensationalizing everything. The hospitals failed, all this stuff's going on. And then one of the things I talk about this in the podcast that I really remember is when 60 Minutes came on site in the hospital and they sent their pre-crew to scout the location. And I was leading them around the hospital. And the young lady, she's from Manhattan, and she's looking around and she's like, wow, this is like a real hospital. And I'm like, yeah, what did you think it was going to be? But people observing it in the media thought we were, doing surgeries in barns in Texas, and everybody was wearing a cowboy hat, and, we weren't washing our hands. And I feel a lot of the same is what's playing out in COVID is they found the one hospital that didn't have enough equipment, or the one hospital that was overrun. And now that they're making that blanket statement around the entire country, and it's just not what's happening.
Yeah.
I mean, I can tell you, from the position I'm in now, where I have window into hundreds of hospitals, it's just not happening. I mean, it's bad in some areas, bad meaning there's more cases, but there's just not this complete lack of personal protective equipment and this complete lack of ICU beds. It's just not happening.
Wow. Okay. I guess that is the insight that I know we could talk to doctors, whatever, but you are intertwined with all these things. I mean, I don't even know if a doctor could tell you.
It's just how they interpret things, because hospitals are licensed for a certain number of beds and they run at a certain capacity, but it doesn't mean that when something goes wrong, they can't easily add capacity. I mean, most of the hospitals I deal with have plans to add hundreds of beds without even really lifting a finger. It's just a matter of flexing people to a different part of the hospital. But when you look at these stats and they say, well, the hospital's at 100% capacity, it's like, yeah, by letter of the law, if they said they had 50 ICU beds and they're full, they're at capacity, but they also have 300 more that they're not using that literally by flipping on a light switch they can use.
Now it's an ICU bed.
So to us, that's not a crisis. But when you read it in the media, it says, well, the hospitals are over 100% full. And it's like, no, they're not. There's capacity. I mean, yeah, it's causing us to have to put in some plans, but they take the human element out of it. They look at it very black and white. There's this number of beds in this many cases. It's impossible. It's like, no, it's not. We thought of these things. Like, hospitals are designed to take care of infectious disease and pandemics. They know how to do this, and they have plans in case they run at a high capacity. So to us, it's not a dire situation like it's being painted in the media. We're just like, nope, this is what we planned for. We're going to move on to this phase of it.
Well, like from what I'm hearing though, is that running at you probably regularly run at 95% capacity in your ICUs. I mean, having nobody in the ICU is kind of I hate to say it, but it's kind of a bad thing, right? I mean,
yeah, bad if you want to keep the hospital open, which
that sounds crazy.
You need those
to
people
say,
there to take care.
I mean, that's just true. They stay at capacity at least a high. I mean, I don't know. I don't. Mm-hmm. You could tell me that at all hospitals they keep ICU beds at the max capacity, or is it just more the high like? JPS over here or whatever else. I'm sorry, I'm a Fort Worth guy, but at Texas Health. I mean,
there you go.
Is that what they're keeping those at high capacity or?
Yeah, and there's different levels. I mean, there's different levels of acuity of cases. So there's certain things. If you set yourself on fire, there's only a couple of hospitals they're going to take you to. They're going to take you to Parkland or. Most likely they'll take you to Parkland.
Yeah, Parkland. Yeah, Parkland's
but no, for what they're staffed for, yeah, the idea is you want to be staffed for and kept running at a high capacity. And to be honest with you, even during the COVID pandemic, the vast majority of people in the ICU are not COVID patients. People don't stop having heart attacks and strokes because the pandemic's going on. It's just we're now adding a little bit more capacity with the people dealing with COVID. But it's again, painted in this light that every available bed is being allocated to a COVID patient, and that's not accurate.
Well, and that's where I'm like, okay, tell me the numbers. Okay, the ICU's at 95, 98, 100%, whatever. Okay, what is your maybe I don't hear it all the time. What is the percentage of that is COVID patients? A lot of people are having COVID and no need to ever be in the ICU.
Mm-hmm.
Correct? I mean,
yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, one of the things that we've been saying a lot of times, and again, going back to the numbers, is there's a very big difference between being infected with COVID and having symptoms of COVID. A lot of people are infected with COVID and don't have any symptoms. So that's not as much of a concern, especially with the healthcare system. Mm-hmm. It's really only the people that are symptomatic to the point where they have to come to the hospital, and that's a much, much, much smaller number than the, whatever you're seeing, 60,000. I think today was right over 60,000, new cases. But of those, the number that are actually symptomatic enough to be in the hospitals, a fraction of that.
Wow. Are you like continually still looking at the numbers? Like, I don't think I'm looking at the numbers as much as I used to. Like, I was every day, I think from probably 3 or 4 weeks, I was looking at, oh man, there's this many cases, and it kept doubling and doubling. And now it's like, it's kind of going up and then it goes down. I think Tarrant County went through 2 days of no deaths, and then they had 5 deaths. I just can't really, I don't know if you're looking at it a little more than I am.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at it, but we're looking at it in a different way. The number of cases doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah.
We're looking at hospitalization rates and what that means. That to us is the big that's the big indicator. And Florida and Texas, admittedly, the hospitalization rates went way up in the last few weeks, but they're trending in a positive direction as of the last few days, for at least within the ones that we're monitoring. And even that stat can be a little misleading. I found out something fascinating today about Florida that I didn't know. But if you're in the hospital and you're diagnosed with COVID, they can't, because of some of the regulations they've put in place to contain it, they can't discharge you to, a rehab unit or a lower site of care, send you back to a nursing home until you've had 2 negative tests after testing positive. And they're on a 8-day backlog for getting test results. So there's literally people crammed in the hospitals that don't need to be there, that have, cured or the disease has subsided, and they can't legally discharge them from the hospital. So, even when you look at the hospitalization rates, that's not even a super accurate stat, because you've got these things in play. And what's hilarious to me, so I found this out about the testing. This is fascinating. So, in this, as a libertarian, you'll appreciate this. This is like government failing 101.
Hey guys, just wanted to take a quick second and tell you about Anchor. And you're like, what? I don't want an Anchor. No, this is the website Anchor. Anchor.fm. That is how you're listening to this podcast. I wanted to start a podcast a few months ago, and a friend told me, hey, go try Anchor. And I looked at it and I said, wow, this is easy. You just got to download the information or download the audio file. Boom, you're in there. You can even record it all on your phone. I do it a little more professional-like, but you could just easily just talk into your phone and it records fine. But then it also puts you on iTunes, does all the fun stuff, not the fun stuff. I mean, the hard stuff. But that's the hardest part, and Anchor does all it for you. I'm on iTunes. I'm on Spotify. I would say years ago or months ago, that would have been quite a task to individually go and find, get on Stitcher. Well, now Anchor does it for me. So just wanted to let you know, download the free Anchor app now, or go to anchor.fm to get started. Thank you. And back to the podcast. Love it.
So they take the test by doing a nasal swab. So, they stick that Q-tip like up into your brain pan, basically.
The brain
and then
pan.
Yeah. And then to test for COVID, there's a reagent that they use against the sample they took. And that's the thing that's in tight supply. That's why that they're having trouble with the testing. Well, there's enough reagent in the United States to do all these tests. But what the government did is they sent it equally to every state. So there's states that have very low caseload. So, we'll use like South Dakota sitting on tons of reagent. And then Florida, who needs it badly, they're burning through their allocation to where they're on a 6 to 8 day hold for test results, because nobody that was in charge of distributing the reagent thought to look at population density or number of active cases. They just said, oh, hey, we've got enough, let's split it up and be done with it. So, it's just, you hear things like that and you're like, oh my gosh, we've got all these people stuck in the hospital. We can't discharge them until they get 2 negative tests. We don't have enough reagent. We're using it as quick as we can get it in. And then we know in other parts of the country, there's stockpiles of it that we can't get our hands on.
That is government in a nutshell right there.
Yeah.
That's just,
there you go.
It really is. And I'm at a loss for words for that. Poor Florida. They can't even get out of their own way anyways, so. But well, so you see it trending down. So what do you think? I hate to call us that we were I was secretly on your team hoax, but I'm not saying that it's I still fully can't say that it's a hoax. It feels like there are really people getting sick. Is there more people getting sick now than there ever was? I'm pretty sure that's pretty accurate, right?
Yeah.
So
I admit, of course, our next episode will come out tomorrow, but I do admit that I've requested a trade from Team Hoax to Team It's Not That Bad.
Okay, I think that's fair. Team to Not That Bad, or Team but do we got to close everything? Like I think that's where I'm at. I don't think we should probably close everything. Is that too simple to ask? I don't know.
No, it's not. It's not too simple to ask, and there's a big debate going on right now, even within my company, because the kind of the topic du jour right now is masks, and there are people in medical leadership positions that don't feel like the mask really makes that big of a difference, and then there's other people that think it does. So you can't even necessarily get agreement on that. But I mean, if you look at the numbers over time, the lockdowns don't seem to have really achieved much.
No.
And that's kind of where I'm at. And especially when you're talking about, and I have young kids, and when you're talking about school, there's really no data that shows the kids are passing it around at all, and certainly not passing it to adults. I think we went about it the wrong way from the start, but I can't be super critical of any of the decisions we made, because, I've been in those moments where you don't know all the information. So you're kind of reacting to bad information. And I don't think there was like a right way to play it, but I think in hindsight, when you look back at it, where we screwed up, and I say we, meaning the US, we really overlooked nursing homes and at-risk populations. And that's where the thing ravaged. And we focused on the people that really weren't going to be affected. We focused on the schools and the, younger demographic. And that was the mistake, and unfortunately, nursing homes, I mean, we could do a whole show on that, but I mean, that is an industry that's not super well regulated. There's a lot of really shady businesses that operate there. And I mean, the nonsense that went on there is just, it's really, it's enraging. But that accounted for so much of the carnage of this disease, and we never really focused there. And so I mean, in hindsight, yeah, we screwed up. We probably shouldn't have locked down. We shouldn't have tanked the economy. We shouldn't have put everybody out of work. We should have focused at the people that were at risk and how to protect them, instead of doing all these other steps that don't. Now as we're 4 months into this, haven't really helped out that much.
No, and that is interesting. And as a libertarian, I'm flexing in that we didn't have enough regulation at the nursing homes. But I really, but the problem is It's not so much the regulation, it's the going, hey, these sick old folks, yeah, go send them over there. That's not regulation. That's government officials going, I don't know, just go throw them in the old. It's literally like their kids. They go, I don't know, just sitting grandma and an old folks home. That's not the way to deal with it. This lady's sick. It's going to be, well, again, it's not so much, and it's also not so much bad information. It's some bad information, but it's also little information. I mean,
right.
When you're a month into a pandemic, you're basically going off of very skewed, I mean, not skewed data. It's very little data. You can just try to make as best. And that's why during the lockdown, when it first started, I go, yeah, let's do it. I was like, I don't know what the hell's going on here. And I was
right.
That's exactly how I was. And we were on team lock everybody down. And then it just gradually, is this team hoax? Well, maybe not, but I think again, it's closer to, yeah, it's not that bad, and wow, we just tanked the economy. I guess the reason that I'm a little frustrated with this, and it's probably because it's affected me the most, COVID's the reason why I'm out of work right now. Like, truthfully. I'm out of work, and there have been jobs that I would love to have taken right now, even the ones that I lost, that I could have taken, but everyone's pausing on everything. So this stuff affects me. So I need to go, what the fuck is going on? I'm sorry. I'm not really mean to cuss, but
that's fine. It's your podcast.
I'll bleep myself.
I'm not gonna chastise you on
well,
your
I
podcast.
didn't know. I don't think y'all curse very much on your podcast. I just didn't want to offend you, but
No, but our the company I work for is huge, huge company. And as soon as this hit, I mean, you talk about reactions. The first thing they did, hiring freeze across the board, started to, we had a lot of employees that were working on a contract basis. We had a lot of vendors. I mean, everything that could be cut immediately. Now they've been pretty cool about keeping the salaried employees intact, which I really, I'm so thankful to be working for a company that cares. Because I have a lot of friends in the same boat, people that are out of work, people that had offers that they had already accepted rescinded, which is crazy. I mean, we knew somebody that actually works in my company had put in their notice, accepted a job, was out the door. And then the company that they were going to work for called and said, "Oh, don't come. It's off. Everything's off. We're on hold." And, it kind of goes back to the same thing. We talk about gambling a lot on our podcast. So I'm a big gambling numbers guy. And even with all the eye-popping stats, when you're looking at it as a percentage of the total population, I mean, I'd be willing to have the argument that the people impacted by the ripple effects of the shutdown far outweigh those impacted by the disease. And I know that's a very slippery slope to be going on, because you're talking about potentially deaths and everything else that families being overturned. But it's such, I mean, we're a country of 350 million people, and we're talking about 140,000 ish deaths. I mean, that's a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of 1%.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a minuscule number.
And it's not to minimize those deaths. It's just
it's
just going just by the numbers. It's just
and if you take that figure and you actually apply it to what they call excess deaths, which I don't know if you've looked into this or not, but it's essentially there's a statistic of people that are going to die anyways. It's the death rate of the country. But when you look at excess deaths by COVID, it cuts the number even smaller, because a lot of the people that died were sick. I mean, they're in their they're above the average life expectancy. So you're talking about a population of people that may not have made it much longer anyways. And then it's such a small number that you have to kind of step back and go like, okay, if we're going to be close to 20% of the country out of work, what are the health and financial ramifications of that? Because you don't think about that, but you're talking about people that lose insurance coverage, that maybe, you don't lose the ability to get treatment for other conditions. I mean, there could be a whole health pandemic just around that.
Well,
take that into account.
No, I that's really, really true. Because I will tell you right now, my current health insurance thing is really in whack because there was a time I was trying, I'm not going to get into everything, but basically all money had stopped. And my wife still worked through it, and thank God. But I was like, well, this is $200. We were paying $200 a month for the whole family, and I'm like, can't pay it. I just there's nothing, can't do it, and it stinks. But I forgot where I was going to go with that. Oh well. I was going to talk about the unemployment rate. I think there's some people that speculate that every time the unemployment rate goes up 1%, 30,000 people die. That's the difference with a lot of it has to do with like mental health and other type issues, drug abuse or what have you. But I look at those things, and I'm actually, I'm bringing this podcast down. I've had some. This has definitely been mentally draining on me. I think it's been really, really tough. A lot tougher than I thought it would be. And I feel like I'm more strong-willed than most. So then I think about the other ones that ain't, and I bet they're having a real hard time. And I kind of sit there and I look at the people going, "Hey, we need to close this down. We need to close this down." I go, "All right, we can close it down, but let's think about those other people." And a lot of people that are, I'm not saying all of the people, but there is a lot of people who say, "Yeah, close it down." And I go, "What's happening to your job? Is your job good?" Oh, okay, well, glad you're still able to work. But it's a personal thing for me to be, in this situation and going, okay, there's got to be. It can't be fully open, and it can't be close everything down. Let's find a fine line. Like, I guess if we could even talk about masks. What side of the field do you think you're on with the mask? Is this with these I guess is that just the leadership that are having those conversations?
No, it's a real thing. I mean, there's a contingent of medical professionals that, and again, it's not arguing that the medical mask is not important. It's that if you got people out in public with, a half-assed scarf tied around their mouth, like that's not really going to help stop the spread. And we don't want to be, perpetuating a lie that's going to be the thing that makes a difference. I'm kind of more of the mind of like, hey, we're going to have to just learn how to live with this. And I think the people that I believe say that the way that it spread the most is just this direct, like prolonged, face-to-face kind of situation where you're really being exposed to the disease. And it's like, to me, that's the difference. It's like, hey, let's give each other a little bit more room. Let's just try not to, be the guy that goes out when you're sick. And we're just going to have to figure out how to kind of work through this and to your point, let people make the decision whether or not they want to take the risk, and that's where I really get bugged by it because, I've been lucky enough that, the area of the country I live in has had very few regulations. I mean, comparatively speaking, we're still not even on mandatory masks, and they, we've had restaurants open here for almost, 2 months now. The gyms have been open for a couple months, and our little area is getting by fine. Our caseload's been pretty much flat the whole way. But I think part of that can be attributed to the fact that, people are taking the extra time to be a little bit more careful. I really believe in the personal choice there, much more than the regulation, unless we get to a point where we actually know something's effective. Because right now it's all just grasping at straws.
Well, I can just kind of see a little negative consequences to these really great things going, hey, we all need to wear a mask. And, I've actually come around. I went to a weird spot where I was pro mask, and then I went to leave me alone. I don't want to wear the mask. And then now I'm like, I'll wear the mask. And I will say I have like allergies sometimes, so I will have a nice clearing of the throat every now and then. So I go,
and everybody looks at you and is like, "What's this guy's deal?"
Well, I have the mask on now, and it's like I think if I didn't, everyone would be like, "Dick." Like I can understand like and go, all right, I'll just wear this mask, and it makes everybody.
No.
And if it makes everybody feel better, I would
Yeah.
be even better. It's almost like hey, I wore pants today. Yeah, it makes everybody feel comfortable. So
No, but I wear mine when I'm out, and to me it's more one of those things where it's just not that big of an inconvenience to me. I don't understand the people that get bent out of shape when a business asks you. It's a private business; they can do whatever they want.
True.
Like I respect that. You know, I don't. I'm probably more in the camp of thinking we're overvaluing the mask a little bit, but it doesn't affect me to wear it in any negative way. So yeah, I'm going to do it. And again, you know, if it's being polite to those that are maybe at a higher risk, yeah, if that's the least I can do, I'm fine with that. I'm not going to begrudge, you know, I'm not going to begrudge anybody that.
yeah, and I don't want anybody's kind of, you know, pushed everybody in the corner. It's like, well, if you're voting for Trump, you obviously don't like masks. And, you know, I'm like, this is so stupid. Like, I feel just dumber for listening to all this.
Oh,
But
we don't have to politicize everything, but we do in a way.
I'm like, why are we've politicized some of the strangest things lately? And I go, really? This one? Okay. And now, and I'm sorry, I'm not going to make this political, but now Trump just like, screw you. I'll wear it when I want. I'll be like, yeah, I don't care about masks. And then he's like, I think he was on the runway in Atlanta or something like that, and he's not wearing one, and everybody around him is. And I think the mayor was like, well, I have to tell you right now, he's actually breaking regulations or something. I'm like, okay, go arrest him. Like, what are you gonna do?
So stupid. But I mean, honestly, I'm at this point, I'm kind of viewing the mask as maybe a way we can keep from having to shut things back down. And in that case, I'm all for it.
Oh,
I mean, if
think
me wearing it in some way keeps them from shutting anything back down, like bring it on. I'll do whatever I can to keep things from getting shut down.
Well, as we said though, what the biggest thing, like you said, the reason people are transmitting the disease is from long contact and in a closed environment, correct? The worst thing we could have ever done was lock down. What we did was, you know, let's say some people were actually living with grandparents or having older folks or something like that, and they were inside the home with them long periods of time, and then they contracted the COVID. I mean, it's this is what happened, and it's like, yeah, we probably do need to still kind of get out, and I hate to even say that, you know, fresh air is a good thing, and being in sunlight it's not a bad thing, and
certainly not.
No, certainly not. But I also heard it's from a family friend, and this guy's seems pretty smart. I think he runs like the labs in one of the hospitals.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well,
look at this guy.
Yeah, but he's I don't want to. I'm obviously not gonna say his name or anything, but he kind of just was talking to my dad, and he was just like, yeah, y'all are all just gonna have to get it. I don't know what to tell you. I just. And it sounds weird to even say that. Like, yeah, we're probably just gonna, like, my wife actually at work. She works in a law firm, but they have mediations in a room, and they found out later that one of the clients that came in was actually tested positive for COVID.
Oh boy!
And everyone's like freaking out, and I'm going, and she's, you know, I'm like, you know what? You can take your measures. She washes her hand, you know, religiously, cleans whatever. So I'm like, you're probably going to be okay. But even if you aren't, I would almost. I had this joke, I guess, with the other guys. I was like, man, I can't wait to get. I don't know why I said it. I mean, like, I can't wait to get COVID so I could tell everybody on Twitter. Like, that's what it's getting to this right now. Is like, let's just get it over with. I might get a few clicks. You know?
Yeah, I was going to say you could probably get some listeners to the podcast. We could do a day-by-day COVID diary. I'm in for that.
I'll just do a COVID. Barely making it through, man.
COVID's not a joke here.
Dude, my leg hurts. Why did you like? I don't know, man. It just does. But I also had now I think about the leg hurting. The guy who lost his leg. Have you talked to anybody about that and how the hell that happened?
So again, like, you know, I'm going to use a hospital term, but there's a thing called comorbidities, which means you've got other crap going on.
Yeah.
But boy, you know, anything COVID related that sounds like a sensational story, you know, we're gonna glom onto that. But no, I mean, you know, COVID for the most part is an upper respiratory disease. You know, it affects people differently. It affects the lungs. But no, I mean, there shouldn't be any sense in somebody having to have a limb amputated.
Well, I can only think is, well, they're saying something about the blood thickening or thinning and causing blood clots, and I'm like, okay, but how is what's going on here? Like, what? That doesn't sound. It seems like something else is going on.
Well, what we're doing is, and again, this you know goes back to the thing is like this is what happens every day in a hospital.
Yeah.
People come into a hospital, they have some kind of complication, they have to have an amputation, they die, they go into cardiac arrest. But now we've gotten this hyper scrutiny about everything that happens day to day in a hospital. And we're just going to attribute all that to COVID. And people that work in the medical profession are like, no, this is life. Like, young people die, old people die, people have brain aneurysms, like, things happen. You know, when you're looking at a sample size of everybody that's sick, this is what happens. This is not an anomaly. Yeah. And you can't attribute all that to COVID. You know, that's the maddening part about it is, you know, I sound like I'm like the most anti-media guy in the world, and I'm not, but it's...
Oh, this is an anti-media podcast. Don't worry about it.
They're looking for a sensationalized story. So they're looking for the youngest person, the healthiest person. You know, I mean, apparently everybody that's ever died is a marathon runner now. I mean, I didn't know that. You know, apparently, like, if you die, you're a marathon runner. So, you know, I mean, that's like the favorite thing is, you know, anybody that gets it there. It's just stuff like that. Like, it's hard to fight against when that snowball starts rolling downhill to combat against that, because then you're just heightening the fear in the community, and everybody's just focusing on all the wrong things. And also the way that they report death rates is not consistent. So, like, you know, I know you said you haven't spent a lot of time recently with the stats, but look at the deaths in the state of Colorado. They're remarkably low. It's not because Colorado is a healthy state. I mean, they are, but it's because they classify COVID deaths differently.
Okay. All right.
That's literally what it is. They classify the deaths differently. Like, you have to die of COVID in Colorado to be considered a COVID death. In any other state or most other states, if you die with COVID, you're a COVID death. And there's a big difference.
So is there, okay, not through the CDC or anything else, is there an actual guideline to say, hey, this guy died, instead of they had just horrible health? I'm thinking of like what's that singer guy? He was like the worst health ever, and then he just caught COVID, and it's like, it sounds like he was pretty sick from a whole bunch of other shit. And but now I think somebody out in the commissioner in Collin County was like, man, I wish I could pull up that story, but he was just questioning, going, what the hell are we constituting what a COVID death is, and is that down the line the same in Collin County as in Dallas County as it is in Colorado? Or
and it's not, and that's
ridiculous.
And that's
utterly ridiculous.
Yeah, that's a big problem, because, you know, again, you know, you have people that have, you know, and I'm making a, you know, I think you can, to make the point, but I mean, yeah, you have people that have terminal cancer that die, and when they die, they test positive for COVID, and depending on what state you're in, that's either a COVID death or not. And in Colorado, it's not. You know, in Colorado, if you contract COVID and you die of of pneumonia, or so that's a COVID death. But if you fall down the stairs, walking to your lab test, that's not a COVID death. And in other states, if you have a positive test, you're lumped in with that statistic, no matter what actually contributed to your demise.
Well, so I was.
That's those kind of reporting issues are a big problem.
Yeah, and as I was looking here, it was Collin County. I believe the officials there were going. Collin County Judge Chris Hill advised residents this weekend. Oh shit, I don't know, but they don't. I think they had to take a bunch out of San Antonio, which were constituted as probable COVID deaths
Mm-hmm.
and not confirmed COVID death.
Yeah, the probable COVID death is a real problem. That's a whole nother thing. That
Yeah.
where there's going to be reclassification after the fact and contribute to spiking the numbers, which you see in a lot of states where you see these weird fluctuations where there'll be a day where it'll just go to the roof and then come back down to the same trajectory. And that's whenever they reclassify those suspected deaths.
That's utterly frustrating. This whole thing is frustrating. It's not your fault, Tommy, but it's.
Well, no, it actually is. I'm responsible for it. I don't know. I guess I'll come clean to you.
Yeah, I know. Well,
I'm sorry.
Well, that's why I brought you on here to confront you. But it's. I guess even the San Antonio thing really. I was looking up. I think someone like Steve Eager posted. They had to take 3,000. I don't think it was it cases or deaths? I can't remember.
It was deaths. Yeah.
It was deaths. Holy shit! 3,000?
Wait, you're talking about reclassifying, or are you talking about moving patients around?
No. I'm talking about San Antonio had to reclassify COVID deaths or cases because.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I would try to pick up the Steve Eager tweet, and I don't even know how he even got that scoop. But well,
he's a newsman. Come on.
Well, he's like you see that, and he's like, it's just like a desk guy. But regardless, regardless of his death or cases, it can't be deaths, but it is.
Yeah,
cases.
It's got to be cases. I don't think. Yeah, that's too high for one
it was
city.
Like 3,000 cases. That would like wipe them all out. But but regardless of being that's 3,000 in San Antonio.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, well, what is San Antonio? And then I try to look it up, and it's like the only story I could find on it was San Antonio was starting to put. It's. I really feel like this is. It kind of went back to New Orleans whenever that the Hurricane Katrina came through, and they're like, hey, they had to bring in trailers for all the dead people. And so now they're doing the same thing there. It's like San Antonio. They're bringing in freezers, 18-wheeler freezers for all
freezer
the
trucks.
I'm like, I need to know more. I need to know more information on that right now. Sorry, I was trying to look that part up, but oh well, can't find it. But yeah, has refrigerated trucks that are going to be put down there in San Antonio.
Yeah, this is all that, like we were talking about earlier. It's all that prep work that we do when we think things are going to head a certain way. But whether they need them, that's a whole other story. The eye-popping headline is, hey, they're mobilizing them, but it's what you want them to do, right? I mean,
yeah,
you have the ability to react to a situation. You do what you have to do to prepare. Like, don't begrudge anybody that. But preparing and actually implementing are two totally different things. I mean, I'm sure you saw these stories, but they set up these, outside triage hospitals all over the place in parking lots. They didn't use any of them.
None of them.
Because it never got there.
No.
But, again, the story was that they set them up to begin with.
Oh, well, that's another. San Antonio apparently has gone real. I don't know what. They were requesting that they open back that makeshift hospital because of overfill, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going, no, we're not doing that again. No. I don't even know. I don't even want to know what that bill was. I guess it doesn't really matter. But, I mean, over that, the Kay Bailey Hutchins, whatever, I don't even know why they named it after her. But, but I remember seeing the story. Well, they're picking it up and just see Army, or I guess they're probably national, or like reserve members or something like that, picking up pillows and folding up beds. They didn't see one patient, and they brought in boats. Didn't see. I mean, maybe they had a few there. I don't know, but the Javits Center over in New York City,
mm-hmm.
they didn't use anything. So What is this all about? What's really going on? I don't know. I'm utterly frustrated by all this, and even today, I don't know if do you still listen to The Ticket? Oh
yeah, every day.
Every day. So,
I do.
So you're gonna have
Sports
to give me,
Day, the Sports Stay app, my friend.
It is well, they are
Life-
they are a sponsor, so get the app thing.
Yeah. There you go. There's a testimonial right there.
But no, I'm utterly frustrated with the Musers right now, and I don't know how. I guess we can talk about this. I didn't how much
Sure.
you just listen, but what part of the Musers are getting anything right? Is what I would like to say. Because I heard them today. Not today. It was on one of the podcasts that they released, and they were taking listeners and like, well, my wife is really scared. We have a newborn and all this. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Again, no one. Again, as you said in that study, there's no one. Other schools have opened up over in other countries, and have had it actually worse, and haven't had any transmissions from kids to adults, or even vice versa. I mean, I guess I don't know.
No, and there's been, in the area I live in, the daycare centers have been open for months and there's been nothing. I mean, there hasn't been, and believe me, if there was one story, it'd be a national story. It just hasn't happened. The virus is strange. It does a lot of weird things. It operates in a weird way, and for whatever reason, thank God, it doesn't affect kids in any meaningful way.
Well, that's another podcast.
That's now the new Flashpoint debate that we're having.
That's another podcast as far as what the hell is this? But
yeah.
But tell me what the Musers. What do you think that they're doing or getting from all this? Is it them being the media, or is it? I don't know what it is. It's utterly frustrating. I'm surprised that you listen.
Yeah, no, in what I've learned, and it's funny because I didn't really appreciate this until we started doing our podcast, because I'm doing podcasts with two of my best friends, and I realized, no wonder nobody listens to our show, because all we do is sit around and say the same things and all agree with each other. So it's like when you're getting paid big bucks to have a show, like, I get it. You don't have to be over the top like Bayless or something, but you have to have contrarian opinions. You have to evoke a response out of people. You have to
a contrarian stance right now would be like, this is all fake. Like that.
Yeah, I know. I think maybe cancel culture is playing into that a little bit. I don't know, but no, I mean, honestly, like I feel like at this point that would be a refreshing take. But no, I think they kind of know. They're in the heart of a fairly red part of the state, although that is changing. And I think they know who their base is. So I think they know that's what's going to get people talking, is to, kind of take this, differing approach to maybe what the majority of people is. And what's funny to me is I've met, and of course, being where I'm at is probably similar to Texas, is just as far as the general political makeup. But I don't run into that many people that seem to have a real worried approach to it. I mean, everybody I encounter for the most part is kind of like, yeah, we're kind of worried about it. We're kind of trying to be careful, but no over the top. What you're seeing play out there. And people are ready to send their kids back to school. I mean, they're tired of having them around the house. Let's be honest.
Today I had a tough day. I'm not gonna lie. I had a really tough day, but I don't know. I mean, I just wish it's not so much. I want to have them sit there and feed me any type of bullshit or whatever. But it's just let's try to be a little honest about this and just, hey, I don't know. I'm not saying that we're any type of. I mean, we're not. Don't take anything from this podcast and be like, fuck this, I'm not wearing a mask. Don't take that from that.
Don't disobey any local ordinances because of this podcast. We don't endorse that.
I would just say, keep looking at the information. We're having a nice, fun, interesting conversation, and that's really all you should take away from it. You don't take any full hard fact. I find it interesting. I mean, you are close to these medical professionals, and you do have to you do have to converse with them and figure out what exactly is going on. But I just wish I just wish it would be a little more. I don't feel like, I'm not saying that they're being dishonest. I just feel like they're not opening their peer view and be like, okay, let me look at all this.
Yeah, and you got to think, and again, this is way too nuanced for most people to. This doesn't play well, but you have to understand everybody's motivation, and in the medical professional, it doesn't do them a lot of good to be really polarized one way or the other because they know they're going to be wrong to a degree, and you always want to err on the side of caution. So you do not want to be the doctor that's going out there saying like, "Look, it's fine. We're going to get through this. Just live your life." The people are going to get it, and we'll deal with it, and the health system won't be over. They can't say that. And then on the other side of the coin, you've got the people that are getting paid by media consumption and clicks and ad revenue based on page views. They're going to always skew to the most sensational side too. And normally the facts, the truth is going to fall somewhere in between there. And it's just unfortunate right now because we have people that are just consuming the news and not really stopping to think like, well, wait a minute, this is as bad as it's gotten, and no hospital's been overrun yet. Nothing outside the norm of what we've been seeing has really happened. Maybe we just ride this out. Maybe this is what has to happen.
But when did we change from the initial thing that happened? It's like flatten the curve. We can't overwhelm the hospitals. We can't. We're gonna have PPE issues. It's even funnier to even talk about. I'm sorry, I just lost my train of thought on the breathing machines. Fuck, I can't even think about that.
Ventilators.
The ventilators. Remember the call for ventilators?
Oh yeah, we were gonna have
Ford made ventilators. It's like, we don't need those, and those are actually really bad for you.
Well, no, and then they found out later that wasn't even the right. That's not even the preferable way to treat the disease. But it's like we were talking about. You don't have all the information. You react too quickly. I'm willing to grant people some of these losses. What I would be interested to know, and this would be my thought experiment. There's no way to figure this out. If there was no big media coverage of this from the start, how long would it have been before we actually realized there was a problem? What would have been that point? Because it certainly would have been February, March, or April. I mean, what would have most likely happened is the people that are in the front lines of healthcare would have said at some point, it's like, man, the flu's really bad this year. We're seeing a lot more people come in with breathing problems than we've seen, because they're not going to think new crazy virus we've never heard of. But what's the tipping point where it starts getting notoriety? That's what I would be interested in, because there would probably be a point where they would say like, okay, something's wrong, but a lot of the onslaught of cases in the hospital is people that are freaking out because they think they're going to die, because they have a cough that developed, and normally they probably wouldn't have gone to the hospital had they not had all this morbid thinking ingrained in their head. I mean, I don't know if you've seen some of these videos from the urgent care centers, like the walk-in clinics, where the lines are wrapping around the building of people just standing there in the heat because they want to get a test.
Oh,
and I'm like, what world does that make any sense? Like, who would do that? Like, if you're home and there's no media coverage of this, and it's like you wake up one day and you're like, man, I've got a little bit of a cough. You're not going to get a test of anything. You're gonna stay home and see if you get better. Like that's what a normal person would do. But because of the heightened media scrutiny, now everybody's flooding these urgent care centers to try to get a test to find out. And the majority of them, even if they're positive, are not going to ever really require any interventional treatment. They're going to go home, relax, and get better.
That's the funnier part. Is I remember the guy from, can't remember the news function, Central Track. That guy, Pete Friedman, I think his name is. He did this whole day on Twitter where he's like, I'm standing in line. And not one time, I believe, he ever said, yeah, I'm sick or whatever. It's just he wanted to see how it was in the line. And I'm like, why the fuck are you in the line? I hate to be, but what the fuck are you in the line for?
Right.
Like, don't be in the line, because
you're now taking the place of somebody that needs to be there. And honestly, like a lot of the hospitals that I work with now, we're doing that in the emergency rooms. We're stationing people there to essentially tell people like, hey, you really don't need to be here. Here's some paperwork. Here's an app you can log into that will tell you when you need to come to the emergency room, because you're essentially just creating blockage for people that need to be there.
Yeah, you just started a log jam because you got the sniffles and
and you know even that, you know, the positive rate's still only like 15 or 20%. So, you know, even the people that think they have it, that are sick, they get tested, you know, 4 out of 5 of them are coming back as negative, and they're all showing up in emergency rooms for things they would have never dreamed of going to the emergency room 4 or 6 months ago. And you know that behavior change, you know, that's completely driven by the fear and hysteria around this, and not any real facts.
Well, again, I'm a little more strong-willed than most. Like, it's kind of hard to phase me, but there could be other people that are not as, I mean, whatever they hear on Fox, whatever, or whatever, they follow it to a T, and they, oh my God, I'm not even going to research this. I believe this. And I'm like, or they don't really have time to. It's a very complex issue to where you have to delve into this a lot, and I don't even really want to, and I don't think I really have. But you know, you hear a story here and there, and you're like, God, this is just. I think I texted you the other day. It's like, I'm not saying this is a hoax, but I feel it somewhere in my bones. That way you might say, you know, being on team not that bad. It's just not that bad, and I feel like it's something. Just like with your stats and taking gambles, we gamble every day. Go jump in a car. You're more likely to die there than if you just stayed in your house. And that's the same thing with this. It's like, and I guess it's just pre-COVID. I was always like, you know, I'll just stay home. I mean, I'm just kind of more of a homebody. And then there's like my former co-host Jacob. He's more of a guy who wants to go outside and go to bars, and this is frustrating him. All this stuff is just driving him kind of nuts about it. And I, you know, it's not bad for me. It's like, oh, people are going to be further away from me. Sounds like a pretty great time. So like, that's a bit of a thing. I'm like, wow, we needed a COVID thing to realize that we don't need to stand so damn close to each other. I didn't need that.
Yeah. Some of these things are just what I like to call the way things should have always been. You know?
Yeah.
We should probably have always washed our hands more.
Yeah.
Like, let's be honest. You know, I'm certainly not a germaphobe, but I'm definitely somebody that when I, you know, shake somebody's hand, I'm like, oh, boy, that's not cool. So these, you know, some of these things I think are going to be beneficial changes for society in general.
No,
but hey, I have a question. I have a question for you. This hypothetical. I asked a friend this today. So say they get this vaccine worked out pretty quickly. They rush it to production. It's free. So this is not going to cost you any money, but say November, are you getting it? Or are you going to say like, let's ride this out and see where the control group nets out here in 6 months before I line up?
I guess I could want to hear your answer, but my answer from the jump is no.
Yeah.
No.
So here's my answer, because I'm on team it's not that bad. So my risk reward is I'm actually less afraid of getting it, because I feel like at my age and my health, it's not going to have a negative impact on me than I am about injecting something that was rushed in 3 or 4 months that could potentially have unknown side effects down the road. It's not even a close decision for me. I would absolutely not get it.
Now, like, okay, if it comes out and it's like, hey, your grandmother can have the vaccine, because I've seen my grandmother once since, oh God, it was in February, but then I couldn't see her. But I've seen her once in probably, I would say 6 months, and that's just insane. It was one of those people that I would see at least once a month, or if not once or twice a month. If she could get it, yeah, go ahead. Because what the hell's that going to do? I mean,
right?
It's not really.
It's a different decision for her, because it could be significantly dangerous. So the risk reward for her is like, no, you get the vaccine 100%.
Yeah.
You know, for us, you know, we potentially have 50, 60 more years to live. We don't know what side effects this vaccine could have. If you're older, yeah. I mean, I would tell my parents to get it in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Okay. That's same with mine. I would be like, no, mine are approaching 60. Just go get it. Fine. But me, I'm going to get iPhone 3. Like,
I'm gonna drag my feet and get antibodies the old-fashioned way.
yeah, I'm gonna go lick some guy with COVID. No, I'm not. But it's yeah. I think that would be my my answer to that. And it's not. I'm not. I've seen a Bill Gates as a weird vaccine guy videos. I have, and he is a weird vaccine guy. I'm not gonna lie. So and when Melinda Gates goes, I believe the I think she said something about minorities or something. She get it first. I'm going, what's your deal? Like, what are you doing? Like that's
that faint alarm going off in the back of your head.
I know. I'm going. All right.
No, and I get a flu shot every year. I mean, again, they've been.
I think you probably should. I mean,
they've been doing those long enough that I don't
been,
feel like there's a big risk.
You're at a hospital.
Yeah, so I'm fine with that. I get one every year, but yeah, something about the number of typical regulations that are going to be waived to rush this thing through.
Yikes!
And
there's like
it feels like a decision I'd regret later.
It's like the race to the moon right now. Like I think there's competing like Gilead and whoever else is.
Yeah, Moderna.
Yeah, they're all
Russia's hacking our trials for it, trying to scoop us. Yeah, it's like the nuke arms race all over again here.
I'm like, so you got this makeshift, and I'm hearing good things that it's. I don't even know why that would do that. As far as I heard, some of it's boosting immunities or something like that, and I go, okay. Well, I just thought it would, make sure you didn't get COVID, or at least reduce the chances of getting COVID. I didn't know it would boost immunities. What are you doing? I don't know, but yeah, I would. I'd veer. I think Jacob also told me veer. Way away from the brand new vaccine that apparently we're able to get that, but we weren't able to get anything for SARS. We still don't have a vaccine for that, but we're able to get a vaccine for this. Why is that?
Yeah.
Why?
Hey, it's an election year, and I'm also, and then this is where I sign the screen and say, look, these opinions are mine and nobody else's, but I wouldn't be surprised if post-election things calm down, if the disease is suddenly in very, very quick remission after that. Wouldn't shock me.
I think it would probably be pretty interesting to see how the media would treat this after, let's say I vote for Biden and he wins, and me and Jacob had that thing where we were like, we're voting for Biden. We need him to win so we can just get back to going to bars or something. Like, we need him to win. I've tweeted that, and everyone, not my followers, but the people there. They were like,
followers.
My following had told me, they were like, "Well, we lost Brad. He's voting for Biden." I go, "This is strategic, okay? That's
yes.
it's like wearing a mask,
right?
I really
your vote is helping cure COVID. You've just figured out the system already. Everybody else is slow to the game here.
All right, Tommy. Well, I feel like I've held your time up long enough. I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, this was fun. I appreciate it.
I hope it was. I had fun. I don't know if it was that funny, but maybe it was interesting. But I don't know.
Oh, well, no, I'll love listening back to this in like 3 years when we're all dead and we're like the last known people on Earth. We're like, man, remember when we were talking about Team Not That Bad? It was amazing.
Well, I guess we would end up like the guy. Which I still need more information on why is everything weird having in San Antonio? But the 30-year-old who died from COVID because they had a COVID party, which I still don't think is real. But they had
they had a party that somebody had COVID at. It wasn't a COVID party, but
did you not hear that was the narrative?
I've read all about this story because there was a medical professional that was quoted up and down in this story.
So you're telling me that was fake news? That they all
it wasn't. It wasn't fake news.
First?
The thing is, though, breaking news. Every now and then, 30-year-olds die. It happens
unexpectedly.
Yeah, it does happen. So, yes,
but in his dying words, it was so dramatic. In his dying words, he goes, "Maybe that wasn't such a great idea." go, who the fuck is writing this? I need to hear. I don't think you should even be able to print that unless I hear audio or video of some sort. Hearing some whoever go in his dying words where it was a bad idea to have a COVID party.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, I hope next time maybe we'll have a COVID party of our own. See who gets.
Yeah, I was going to
first.
say we have a COVID party here on Google Hangout. I'd like that.
Yeah, this is Meet. This is Google Meet, not Hangout.
Oh, sorry, Google Meet.
Yeah, get it right. So, well, I appreciate it, Tommy, and hope we can do it another time. And
yeah, I enjoyed it anytime.
Yeah,
and thanks for letting me promote. Tell me where to turn at Where to Turn Pod.
Yeah, you might
and
get.
We'll have a new episode this week where we review Die Hard. Speaking of bad script writing, and we spend a lot of time.
Were you the one who's never seen Die Hard?
I have now. I have seen
you've
Die
never
Hard.
seen it. Okay,
I watched Die Hard for the first time 1 week ago today, or 1 week ago yesterday, and gave a full review, top to bottom.
Well, I will be looking forward to that. When's that going to be coming out? Probably
tomorrow morning. So I don't know when you release this episode, but Friday morning. So by the time this comes out, it'll already be there. So
I'll find out when you release yours, and then I'll release mine about an hour later.
There you go.
So that's
scoop us. Scoop our 10 listeners, and you can have them.
All right, I guess we'll end on is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Oh, absolutely. The whole thing revolved around a Christmas party. So yes, it's a Christmas movie.
There we go. All right. Thanks, Tommy.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
When you call my name, and you know I'm gonna treat you right. You give me fever when you kiss me, fever when you hold me tight. Fever in the morning, a fever all through the night. Everybody's got the fever, that is something you all know. Fever isn't such a new thing, fever started long ago. Romeo loved Juliet, Juliet she felt the same. When he put his arms around her, he said, Julie, baby, you're my flame, thou givest fever. When we kiss it, fever with thy flaming youth. Fever, I'm a fire, fever, yea, I burn forsooth. Captain Smith and Pocahontas had a very mad affair.